I'm the baby. Yes, I am. This the Poet Warriors. You know. You already know. Guys, welcome back to part video due of these little segments that I'm going to be calling, owning the stage, owning the audience, whatever, about taking command of your audience, right? And in the last episode, we talked about eye contact and how that can help you. Today, we're going to be talking about body language. And I touched on that a little bit in the eye contact video because, funnily enough, like I said at the end of that video, the eyes are a conscious choice that actually do have an impact and affect your body language, right? I talked about how if you're commanding the stage with your eyes and you're looking around very purposefully, you're engaging in heavy, strong eye contact, you're going to be a lot more open with your body language. Whereas if you're coming out as a more shy, meek character who might be looking down at the ground and kind of popping up every so often, you're going to be a lot more closed off with your body language, right? So it all kind of stems from something, body language, for me anyway. I mean, it's different for everyone, but right there, I mean, that kind of summed it up, which we can go into in a little more depth, right? The second way that you can own a performance space, that you can own an audience and steal their attention, steal their captivation, which is the goal, right? When needed, is with body language, right? And so right there I said, there's two very different things, right? If you're open, it gives off a completely different feel than if you're closed, right? Like you're very small and meek and weak. There's a difference between strong body language, being open and controlling a space, and weak and giving away the space, right? But I already covered that. I didn't want to repeat myself too much. The second way that you can use body language to maintain a connection with the audience and steal their captivation is with smaller nuances, right? And we talked about this before. We've talked about go out into the world and observe people in public. And that's how you can kind of build this imaginative catalogue of body language and nuances. Mannerisms. That's what you can do to your body language to really bring the character to life and really add new depth to what you're doing, right? There's a difference between coming onto stage and making the easy choices, making the easy options, right? I mentioned Mark Antony in Julius Caesar in last episode, right? Very, very powerful character, will come out, and chest up, look around, and control a space, very collected, very purposeful with his movements. That's the easy choice, right? And that's definitely what Mark Antony is. But how about you throw a little tingle of something in there, right? A limp, some shoulder pain. I remember I was in a performance where I was Mark Antony, actually, in Julius Caesar. It was very cool production, directed by yours truly, Thomas Ruse Bizarre, and he's a wartime general. And there is a technique in performance, in acting, which I can make another snack on and I can go to in more depth, but in this technique, you basically create an entire backstory for your character up until the moment that you go on stage, from birth to when you go up, right? And this is a very helpful technique because it gets you more in tune, more in depth with your character and your character choices, right? And so I took it back, and I've been in these battles, and I had a shoulder injury, right? Which changed a lot and changed the way that I delivered it, right? Like every now and then I'd have a twinge in my shoulder, have to ping it out, right? It would kind of stop me, recenter me, bring me back into whatever I'm doing, right? Add some interesting pauses, and add a level of depth to the character, right? I'm not saying that you have to give them shoulder pain or anything. I'm just giving my specific example, right? So small, tiny nuances. Maybe they have a twitch. Maybe they have to have a twitch. Maybe they hear voices. and they don't never talk to the voices, but they hear somebody, right? Maybe they have an ulcer, a stomach ulcer, right? A limp, a mangled foot, right? A toothache would change very much how you deliver those lines, how you perform, how you say things, how you do things, how you interact with certain people, right? Maybe he's got a deviated septum, so he's always kind of touching his nose, right? These little nuances add depth, enough depth to the character where the audience can kind of sit forward on their seat and they're like, huh, like he's doing something kind of interesting with this role. Mark Antony that I've seen, 100 times before. I've seen 100 Julius Caesar plays. What's he doing that's setting this out different, right? We all know Mark Antony is like the strong, collected leader of like the resistance, rebellion, whatever. His is a bit unique, and it's changing the way that he approaches the story, right? So that's just one of the ways, through these little mannerisms, through these little nuances, that you can add to your character. And normally, smaller and less is more in this scenario. It doesn't have to be anything crazy or over the top. If you choose to have shoulder pain, you don't want to be walking around doing this every 5 seconds, like that's too much. But we need to do what we can, these little things, to steal that captivation, to steal that that audience, right? And then to relate it back into, dance is obvious. It's all body language, right? And to relate it back into music and musical performers, again, I relate back to Cadillac 3 again. I've got a snack on them. I mentioned them in the previous episode, comparing them to some of the best performers known to be live, right? Motley Crue, insane performers, right? Cadillac 3 are on par with them, if not more. And they do it through body language, eye contact, and just they have fun. They're dancing with themselves, they're having a good time. The focus is more on their performance than the actual music itself, which is, a good thing and a bad thing. But it still comes through. And I remember they stole the audience the first time I saw them live. I've seen them live 3 times. They have a song called The South, which I know a lot of Floridians have heard because it's got the Florida-Georgia line in it, and there's like a ton of 7 different southern artists on it. It's called The South by the Cadillac 3. And when they perform the song, it's the bloody motorcycle gang, mate. When they performed the song, it was in this bar club in London. When they performed the song on beat, they got every single person, and I looked around, even like the attendees who were doing the gift shop behind the bar, everybody starts stamping, right? And that's body language, right? They start, it's a Congo wave, or they start stamping, and then one by one, little by little, the entire place was stamping. And the walls were shaking, the floor was vibrating, the speakers were gonna fall over. It was one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of, dude. And it was awesome. And through that one tiny little gesture, stamping, right, they owned the audience space of, 600 people. Everyone was doing it. They owned us. That's what good performance is.
Tasty.